Hello and welcome to Mr. A's Maths Today. Here's today's problem. When you're ready, pause the video and give it a go. As you can see, today's question involves bounds using multiple operations. Multiple operations just means plus, minus, divide, subtract. So they can combine any number of those within the one question. X, Y, Z and W are related by this equation. Y is 20 when rounded to the nearest whole. Z is 4.8 when rounded to one decimal place. W is 2.4 when also rounded to one decimal place. Determining the upper bound. I want this to be as big as it can possibly be. I want the upper bound of U. What was the biggest value that could be before these numbers were rounded? As with all bounds questions, I'm going to start by working out the upper and lower bound of each of these. So I'll start with Y. It's 20 when rounded to the nearest whole. I'm going to round it up to the nearest whole. I'm going to round it down to the nearest whole. My lower bound is given by the number in the middle. My upper bound is given by the number in the middle there. So I've got my lower bound and my upper bound for Y. Sorted out Y. Z is 4.8 when rounded to one decimal place. I'm going to round this up one decimal place. I'm going to round that decimal place up by 1. 4.9. Going to round it down by 1. Again, my lower bound is here. 4.75. My upper bound is here. 4.85. The lower bound is always halfway between. The upper bound is always halfway between. Can you see how this is working? If you're not sure what I'm doing, go back to one of my earlier videos on bounds. One of the earliest ones shows you how this is working. W is 2.4 to one decimal place. Let's sort out W. 2.4. One decimal place again. This is the number that has been rounded possibly. Going to round it up by 1. Going to round it down by 1. My lower bound is in the middle. My upper bound is in the middle of those two. 2.35. 2.45. This is often enough to get you a mark in the exam. I'm going to put in a table, and as if by magic, table is up. So I've got my table. If this is just separated from this, it makes it a bit easier to read. It makes it a bit easier to understand. This is often enough to get you a couple of marks. If you're not sure what to do, write the upper and lower bound for every number contained in the question. You're probably going to get a couple of marks. Top tip. Let's work on the rest of the question. I want this to be as big as it can be. So I've got this equation and I wanted this to be as big as it can be. So I need to choose these carefully. Do I want the upper? Do I want the lower? If I want this to be as big as possible, I want this top number to be big as it can possibly be, but I want this to be the smallest it can be. You really do have to use your common sense on these questions. There is a little bit of thought involved. It's very rare you can look at it and go, yeah, it's exactly this. Well, I know I'm going to use Y upper bound. What would make this as small as it can be? Well, if I make this the smallest it can be, but take away the biggest possible value, that makes this bottom as small as it can be. So I'm going to put these values in. Y upper bound is 20.5. Z lower bound. Subtract W upper bound. Then I need to use my trusty calculator. As if by magic I've got a calculator. This gives me 8.913043, some digits after. Notice it said round your answer to 2 decimal places. Well, this is my answer, but I want it to 2 decimal places. I want 2 numbers after the decimal point. Going to use this to decide whether that number should move up or down. 5 or above, give it a shove. 4 or below, let it go. Just going to let it go. I'm going to keep it as 8.91. X upper bound is 8.91. And we're done. Definitely a more complex question. Definitely a higher question. Only worth 4 marks. Quite a lot of work there for 4 marks. But I hope that makes sense. When you're ready, pause the video, give this challenge question a go. And don't forget, a question a day keeps those bad grades at bay. Bye for now.